Okay. Good night, good night, good night, good night. Welcome to therapy. Fatherhood Think Tank. Oh my God. So this is a way to start a 199 episode. Let me let me start to get people in here. All right. So let me just. So we decided that by the time we get to the 100 episode, we're going to be able to live stream live on um, the Fatherhood Think Tank YouTube page. Also, be able to do it on Facebook. So we had to try it out tonight, and get everybody in the room and get people here. And because we only have this small capacity, we're able to kind of like start it off tonight. So we're gonna have our regular fatherhood think tank, maybe a little bit abbreviated, because we lost a lot of time. But outside of losing the time, I think the quality that you might be able to get from this is a little bit better, moving up and giving opportunity to really see some things in a way that we haven't been able to see them. So again, I'd like to welcome everybody. Again, like, share, subscribe to the Fatherhood Think Tank's YouTube page if you want to continue to see. Again, I'm Dr. Ron Osborne Williams, uh, the curator of the Fatherhood Think Tank. We're going to more than likely get some other fathers to be coming on simultaneously. As they come on, I'll be getting them onto the stage, and then we will, really try to get this whole thing popping. With that, I see that Lightborn's here, Brother Tenny's here, Brother Castro. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and, as normal, introduce yourself, and then we're going to get to tonight's topic. And I know that it's been, this is what, we had to do to get ready for 100. So, so being able to get ready for 100, this is what we had to do, and this is what we got. So we definitely going to make it happen.
All right. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults. That's always been my mantra on here. Happy 99th episode. Happy 99th Fatherhood Think Tank discussion. Very proud of that. I misspoke last week. I thought last week was 99th episode. It was the 98th episode. So tonight is the 99th episode. Extremely proud of us, gentlemen. And again, I am a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, one grandson, one granddaughter, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Ed Tenney. I have a blended family of six, three biologicals and three steps, and I have two grandbabies, one of which I'm babysitting right now. That's why I'm on the cell phone tonight. So uh, hopefully next time I'll be back on the computer.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Alexander Ramirez, also known as Castro. Uh, I'm delighted to be here again. It's been rough for the last couple of months. I haven't been able to be on. I come home late, and the little ones are expecting to spend time with me. So it's kind of ironic for me to say I'm on this chat trying to be a better dad, but I'm not being a dad when I'm not present, when I only got 30 minutes. So as much as I miss you guys, they're in here hazing me to be with them. So I need to go give them this 20 minutes before I put them to sleep at 8 o'clock. So it's not that I don't want to be around. It's that the requirement of fatherhood requires us. So good to be here. Glad you guys are doing 99. Glad, Ron, you're still pushing strong on this. Blessing to see everybody. These are my two tries.
Handle your business, Dad. Handle
Yeah.
your business.
Let me go handle this, put them to sleep, and then I'll be back hopefully in about 40 minutes or so. Thank you, team. Blessings and love. Keep going, man. I'm glad to see you guys are on this, and I'm going on 100. Good stuff, man. Love.
Great. Hey, man. That's what we have to do. Actually, the funny part is that kind of touches base on what our topic is tonight. Um, the night's topic is I've got 99 problems, but being a father ain't one. And that really puts that really almost as I would say really puts some highlight into what we're talking about right now and how we're talking and in the area that we're talking about, because look at we're having a show right now and look at what fathers are doing. um, they don't have a problem being the father that they need to be and how they need to be the father. So I think that's one of the big parts of this that sometimes we don't really put into play. We don't even think about like that. So I definitely want to throw that out there and put that in the mix, um, and see how that goes. Um, so with that being said, did everybody? I guess Blackboy, did you introduce yourself?
I was the first.
Well,
Teeny
see,
went.
that's
Teeny
what
went
happened
second.
when you move from one entity to another. Things seem a little bit more difficult, more tight. So what I'll do is I'll just start like this and do a round robin, and I'll probably let Castro, because he's probably gonna have to go get out. He's gonna have to go get. Look, he still got his shirt and tie on, so I know that he walked
I
in
just,
the door.
I'm in the parking lot in the car on the phone, and the boy just jumped in the car. And I'm just like, the car
Yeah,
for the driveway for us is the time when we get to unwind, close down business before we walk in the door.
yeah,
But that gets shut down
definitely
when they
that.
jump in the car with
So,
you.
mm, so
So,
definitely, I wanted to be able to get. I wanted to go ahead and get you to go ahead and maybe even while you have that little time, to speak a little bit about the idea of 99 problems of being a father is not one. Um,
I would, nah, bro. This is a chosen way of life, right? Like, and I realized this the other day that it's a daily choice, right? I'm always motivated by Lightmore when he talks about he's got a tribe of seven. Like, I know that my wife and I purposely stopped at two. And for us, it was logistics, right? You grab one, I got the other one, let's run type of thing, right? Zombie apocalypse. But that's the funny jokes, all that aside. It's like, how do you pour so much into somebody else when you're still trying to figure out yourself and pour yourself and still have self love? Right? And being a dad is not one of those problems. It's part of the blessings that we have. Everything else is a problem. Father can't be one. It's not one. I don't take it that way. Never have, and I'm not gonna begin. It's a choice, right? I have a choice to sit here, share with you guys, have you guys pour into me, which you guys done throughout the years, right? However, we choose, right? What's the choice that I need to make this moment to be best? Like he's sitting here tapping at me, trying to get my attention, and I'm ignoring him. Is that the best use of my time right now? Am I being the ideal, the optimum dad, or am I just pouring into a screen with a whole bunch of other people that could benefit, not benefit, but him benefiting for the 20 minutes I'm home? That's a little bit more optimal. Yes, son. Go ahead. You can do that. Right? And it's just choosing that moment, right? You, I saw him this morning at 7 o'clock. It's been 12 hours. And he's pulling on my tie, getting my attention. Hit the button right there. So I would say everything is a problem unless you allow if you allow it to make fatherhood a problem, then that would be a problem too. Right. But then again, what's your alignment to your priority? For me is I'm not pouring into my little guy at 5. I'm pouring into who he's gonna become when he's 25. Right? And what does
right.
that look like? So that to me that's what matters. So yeah, thank you
And
for the
I guess
opportunity to be here.
I mean, a good part of that is you're looking at what happens at 25, right? But what happens at 5 has so much to do with what happens at 25. We
That's true. That's
sometimes
true.
may not be able to really. I talk a lot about early childhood development and how early childhood development, affects and what happens with children, and the little things that we forget that they may even have, the biggest influence on them later on is something that we as adults didn't even think would be important. You know, there was a post on Facebook today, some guy posted about, hey, when they seen a picture of Pick and Save, and I don't know if any of you guys know what Pick and Save is. It used to be a store that was like Walmart called Pick and Save, affordable store, and the caption said, "What do you think about when you see this picture?" And I put a thing of a man running it, because I said I remember when my mom would say she was going to go to Pick and Save, I would run and try to go get in the car, because that was like an opportunity to go to, like people take for granted going to Walmart now, but that was like how Pick and Save was, and I knew I would maybe get some candy or get something. I would get something nice while I was there. You know what I mean? And that has a lot of influence on how I am now about going to the stores and being up to do grocery shopping and knowing how to shop and knowing how to, be able to do those things for myself, is what that development that I had when I was a kid, and so that also means that as a father, I'm not going to have any problem being able to take care of my kids, provide them with food, take them to the store, and know how to pick the things out. And that sometimes comes as a question: are we able to do that? Do we know how to do that? Dads, fathers, that's not they're not their thing. They're not the nurturers. They don't know how to do that. But many of us do know how to do it, because we had to do it. How do we take care of ourselves? We have to feed ourselves, shop, and everything else, just like anybody else. So I throw that out there. Let me go to somebody else who wants to kind of touch on that 99 problems, but being a father is not one.
I guess for me, in a simple, I guess in a simple description of things, having a tribe of 7 young adults, and being blessed to experience the different nuances of fatherhood, being a teenage father, then an adult father, then a surrogate father, which it was I was a father to my children's friends, just like a surrogate father, and then a stepfather when I got married to my wife, and so just now a grandfather. So to get to experience all those different nuances of fatherhood, brings me to one, I guess, one simple perspective, which is as it pertains to this topic, 99 problems and being a father in one. I guess I would have to describe the 99 problems as 18 to 19 years of just individuality and selfishness, right? Up against putting 18, 19 years up against selfishness, because I was a father at 18, between 18, 19, or something like that. And so putting 18 to 19 years worth of selfishness up against one day, right? One day of sharing. And so if I had to describe what this topic looked like, it would be how, whatever age you became a father, how do you put that age amount of selfishness, because you being an individual naturally would make you selfish as an individual, up against whatever that one day of sharing. And so 99 um, represents the selfishness of a person, versus that, and the 1% or that one can represent a year or a day. I would like to say a day, because I think every father's presence in a child life is going to be predicated on that one day, and then you earn the next day, and then you build the next day, as opposed to saying a year. Because I'm like, no, life don't start in years; it start in days. And being that as it may, um, putting whatever age you became a father up against that one day will be the telltale sign of your fatherhood. So that's just my perspective on
Hmm. Uh, Good evening, fathers. Um, I can remember I was in the military at the time. I was had left Washington D.C. and my wife and I we got married in 1974, and it was 1975. I had to go. I went back into school, into respiratory therapy program the Army had. And while we were there in San Antonio, Texas, uh, my wife and I conceived. My wife conceived because we were hoping, we were praying for to have at least one child while we were still in the military. And I tell you, the day that we found out, like you said, that was a blessed day. And and then in 1976, he was born. 1977, I got orders to go to Korea, and I had spent a year in Korea. And in Korea, after being there a year, came back home, and the first day that I got back home, my wife and I conceived another boy, another baby, the girl. And I must say, both of incidents has been really a blessing. And you have to take fatherhood day by day, because one day may not be the same as another. And and just be there for your children, whether just to listen to them talk, or find out how their day has been, and to sit there and watch, and to see them grow from when there is a little baby, this little thing in your hand, and now my son, who's in his 40s, he's about 5'10", but my daughter is about 5 feet tall, and we have 7 grands. And I consider that a blessing. That I do not consider fatherhood or being a father a problem at all. I believe it's a blessing, and one that if you are or will be, you need to embrace it.
Well, I guess for me, I placed such weightiness, I guess, on the role of fatherhood, um, that I just remember just being so intentional in trying to be the best father, uh, godly father I could be. Um, and just the just the journey itself, as I look back on it, um, I guess if I were to grade myself, I think I'd be up there. I'd be up there in the B plus, A minus type of scenario. Um, you ask my kids, they may tell you something different, but I really had a good time um, watching, my biologicals grow up, and just it's such a pleasure now just watching them as grown people and how they interact with me and with each other and with other people. I just couldn't be prouder of the young adults that my children have become. And then with young Carter, he's my stepson. He's got 2 dads, and just trying to be intentional as well with him. Um, just making sure that he just has some, um, backup, I guess, some fatherhood backup. I try to um, make sure that I allow his biological father to um, input as much as he is able to, and then I just kind of step in um, to support that. And so my wife and we are just enjoying watching him grow up. I mean, he's 13 years old. His voice is deeper than mine now. He's getting tall. So, you know, fatherhood has never been a joke. It was never something that I toyed around with or gambled with. For me, it was just a very intentional thing to make sure that these kids had um, a decent male influence in their lives. And I can only pray that as they continue to get older and as Carter gets older, that they'll see that Ed Tenney was a dope dad.
No, I concur, Ed. And I often listen to you. My wife is always a big fan of you guys, particularly of you, because I think she liked your mannerisms and knowing the fact that uh, she's married to a godly man. You understand, but she also um, appreciate the godliness in other men as well. You being one of them, she got even nicknames for you guys. Hers for yours is you're like you're very humble and pleasant. And so with that, I think your kids really can appreciate that, and anybody around you, um, with just common sense or appreciation can appreciate the fact that your personality, your delivery, and stuff like that. I mean, me, I don't think I was that type of father. I think I was a very concise father. I was a very, if I was to give myself a character or biblical character, I would say I probably had I was a David or probably like a man of war. So I'd have been like a Peter raising my kids or a David or something like that. I'm just being blunt with you. I was very concise. If they didn't um, give me the answers that I needed, you understand, I'd have to intimidate the answers out of them. Benny, I so intimidate the answers out of them, but I would, I guess, if I, it's like a positive aggression, right? For me, that's what fatherhood was for me. Very oxymoronic, but it was a very positive aggression because if my kids didn't have visions, then I gave them one. You understand? And so,
Okay.
but I didn't, um, and not that I was up under this type of upbringing, but I always valued vision. And because of vision, I think vision has a very deep impact or a profound impact on decisions. I always thought they was intertwined. So because I thought visions was intertwined with decisions, then it made me that forceful. It made me that aggressive. It made me that assertive and very concise when engaging my kids. Keep in mind the 7 kids, 4 biologicals and three of my non-biological children. And so when you're trying to govern a house of 7 children, and you not really had, then again, I'm like, no, I'm lying. I did have the experience. That may explain why, because now I was getting ready to do something and disregard something I did had, because it's always stereotyped as a negative. So let me reiterate what I'm saying. I'm an only child. I was raised in a house with 8 other children, which puts us in a house, put me in the equation that makes me 9, the 9th child. With 3 additional adults being my mother, her only sister, who has the actual 8 kids. My mom has 1 kid, along with my grandmother at any given time between the ages of 1 and 12. With that, so you're putting about an average of 12 people, 11 to 12 people in a 2-bedroom house for the first, maybe the first 10, 12 years of my life, right? And instinctively, when I'm being blessed with not only just my 4 children, but the 3 additional children I inherited with the blessings of me and my wife union, that's 7 children. And so as much as I think I didn't have the experience and the expertise to really raise 12 children, I think what I did have, I was getting ready to disregard it, because I'm like, you're disregarding the fact that you was raised in a house, a 2-bedroom apartment, most of your, at least first 10 years of your life, with about 11 to 12 people. And you saying that you don't have the experience, when the fact of the matter is, I actually did have the experience. And so now I have to ask myself, what made me disregard that experience? And I think it goes back to and I'm gonna go way back to Genesis, because I'm not just seeing this like this, but I've seen it like this before, and I'm gonna share it with you now. When you disregard or disrespect your own experiences, it brings me back to the Garden of Eden, when God had to ask Adam and Eve this one question. I'm just paraphrasing what he asked them when they were naked and they realized they were naked. He said, what made you ashamed of something that's yours? So I'm saying that to say this: even though being raised in a house for the first 10, 12 years of my life with about between 11 to 12 people, which actually instinctively prepared me to raise 4 to 7 children, right? At some point, something in me was embarrassed enough to not give credit to the fact that I was raised in the same situation that empowered and raised more children for me to raise less children, right? And so with our history being disregarded, I think instinctively and unconsciously, I was more embarrassed about my past and my history than I was empowered by it. See, the reality says that I was really empowered by 11 to 12 people being raised in a 2-bedroom apartment. That was really empowered, because had I not been empowered by that, I wouldn't be able to empower the 7 children I was charged and blessed to raise. But instinctively, I went and got embarrassed by it. So I guess the deeper question is, why was I embarrassed by something that empowered me? And I'm just getting this revelation right now. And so with that, and I mean, honestly, now being the way I'm giving you this explanation is the way I actually raise my kids. So if you see me engage you like that, I engage them at that depth all the upbringing. I really make them think things out, not because I'm this bright intellectual pseudo whatever, right? But because love puts a demand on you before you can put a demand on anyone else. So I think about them greater than I think about myself. That was the positive aggression I raised them with. I think about them greater than I think about myself. And so with that, I put a greater demand on them, right? After I had them put demand on myself. I spent my whole life putting a greater demand on myself. Now that great demand I'm putting on them is an inheritance. And so back to your point, Teeny, being the man that you are never the influence, and you are always the authority. Love is never the influence. It's the authority. Everything else is the influence. So I can tell you, man to man, you were never the influence, and you will always be the authority, because you're giving them everything that will transcend more than what they need to become the men that society don't even deserve. But they will be strong enough to withhold and withstand it. And so I'm grateful for all the fathers on you, and thank you for listening.
Hey, I appreciate that acknowledgement. And, you know, I guess there is a tendency to kind of escape or withdraw from what we may perceive as a negative. But people rise to success all the time using their upbringing, however good or however bad it may be, to reach whatever heights that they are obtaining. And to
So
not
true.
acknowledge that is to not have the motivation to be able to succeed. You know, people grow up in the projects, and because they grew up in the projects, you know, they aspire to be something greater. And I'm sure that matriculates down to whatever generation they have to be greater than themselves. So, yeah, I appreciate that reminder that our own personal upbringing should never be dismissed or disregarded, that we should always be able to use those experiences, even if they're negative, to propel us into excellence. So I appreciate that word.
Yeah. No, I can remember growing up. Um, my mom and my dad separated when I was 4. I had an older brother, older sister, and a younger brother under me. And we were in Boynton at the time. Then we moved from Boynton to Pompano, and we lived with my grandmother for about almost a year. Um, she had a 2-bedroom home that we stayed in, and then my mom moved out into we were in a 1-bedroom apartment. But to use the bathroom, you had to go outside of the apartment, and there was a bathroom attached to it, but you had to go out to use the bathroom. And we moved from there to another 1-bedroom build apartment that we stayed in. And I stayed in that until I graduated from Blanchard High School in 1970. And in 71, I went into the Army. But I had a lot of cousins that we used to hang together. I mean, my grandmother would have we would call it Sabbath dinner on Saturday after church underneath this beautiful tree that she had, and all the grands and the cousins, we all get together. And I think a lot of that really weighed in on me, on my weighed on me, my thinking, and what I try to achieve as a father. Because I also seen what my uncles and my grandfather, how they handled their families. Especially my grandfather, I was very close with him. We used to get together on the summertime when I was about 10 or 11. Go up to New Jersey, work on the farms. Come back where I could work on the farm, get clothes for school, maybe buy myself school clothes. And I did that up until I was about 15 or 16. My grandfather passed away. But to me, he was an awesome guy. And then along with my uncle, who helped to teach me how to drive. So I had those male influences that really poured into me, along with the church. I must say that, along with the men there in the church. And when I became a father, I thought about those times. I thought about the thing in the situation you're going through. Did I always get everything right? No. But They was realize what what's going on with me and why, and and sometimes I did actually get into for my children. You know, Daddy got upset, and I'm so sorry. You know, I love you. Love you with all my heart, and always will. No matter where you go, what you do, I'm gonna be here, and our home is always gonna be open to you. If for some reason you need to come back home.
You know,
And
I'm sorry, you had asked a question, and I thought it was so rhetorical. You said, "Did I always get everything that I wanted?" And immediately, my spirit like, "No, but you always got everything you needed." And because the question you asked
true.
yourself was just as rhetorical for you as it was for me. And so I
Mhm.
realized that on my upbringing. I'm like, no, I didn't always get everything I wanted, but I always got everything I needed. And I'm saying that to say this. I saw something in the news to me that was very troubling. I saw a young man who went to the church, right? Put the gun on a
Yes.
to the church
Yes. Yes.
with every intention to shoot him. The gun jam, which is divine intervention, and then another
Right.
is two divine interventions I saw that. Number one, the gun jam.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's actually three. Number one, the gun jam. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
you had another person who was not even being shot at, was got the courage enough to actually subdue the young man.
Yeah, he
And
was a deacon.
right. And number three was the pastor and the deacons them had enough love enough to actually minister to this man after he tried to kill the pastor. Right.
Hmm.
Now, the value of that, because we always, we always talk about people talking about values, but let's define what values really is. Because you hear people talking about values, and it's usually from a status type thing. Values, it's always
Hmm.
something to make you look good. You understand? It's always something that has the advantage, and that comes from the advantage perspective, and never the disadvantage perspectives. And so when you're talking about value, real value show itself that here's a man that a man that an older man that showed enough empathy and compassion to a younger man after he attempted to kill him.
Yes.
What is that? And all that took place and transpired in a church. That was so miraculous. You understand? That it brings me back to this one perspective. I think when as it pertains to values, that we've raised our children, we've raised our children with enough material, right? So we gave them enough material, right? Material sacrifices as supposed. And so because we thought we gave them, we put so much importance on material things that we deprived them of the psychological things. And that young man said, when I guess I'm just gonna sum it up. He said his reason for trying to kill this man is not because he lacked material things, but the fact that he can afford a gun to go in and shoot this man. You understand? And was very well taken care of because he didn't look like he was neglected. That's one thing about me. I'm gonna observe everything about a person. And so he looked like he was very well taken care of. I mean, very manicured, clothes pretty neat, decent, hair pretty cut really well. So he wasn't lacking nothing material, but he was lacking everything mental. And that was his explanation to the guy he tried to kill. He said, man, I was hearing all the voices, but the right ones. All the voices that told me to kill you, and none of the
Yes.
voices, right, that told me to save you or even myself.
Huh.
And so we given our children more material things than we did to give them more mental and psychological things. That's not a mental health issue. That's a spiritual health issue. That man said he was holding, that man said he was hearing voices. And I'm like, at least if you was hearing voices, because let me clear everything up before these mental health people try to jump in and make themselves heroes. You understand? Let me be very historically and culturally correct when I define and tell you this here. Harriet Tubman said she heard voices.
Uh-huh.
You understand? And so I
Yeah.
have to ask myself, what's the difference between the voices Harriet Tubman heard and the voices this young man heard to make him want to go into church and kill a pastor of his own kind? And so before we jump on the mental health thing, I'm like, hey, you guys better start reading both books. Because it's going to take more than the mental health book to save our children. I would say it's wise to read both books. But you got to realize that one book gave birth to another. And that's where you have to decide which one you're going to give more credence to than the other. So again, I'm not totally against, I'm 50% against mental health because of the historical value of it. You understand? But when it comes to a spiritual, I've been in church a long time. I've seen some weird things that shows up at the church that mental health can't begin to fathom.
Right.
They can't explain it. They just drug it. Don't think I don't know about it because I work in the profession. And so, again, I'm like, hey, no. We got to figure out, again, how to navigate and plant our children and condition or recondition our children in between the voices of Harriet Tubman, right? And the other voices would make this young man want to go into church and try to kill a pastor. And so when you're talking about as it pertains to I have 99 problems and being a father ain't one, that's it. Because guess what? 99 problems can represent those negative voices. But sometimes if you want to defeat negative voices, all you need is one voice to rescue you.
Right.
One. It's amazing how powerful love and good and positivity is. You got problems. But that one positive voice, that one, you understand, that one voice can save you from the whole 99 problems or years you about to get in prison. And so that's, for me, talk about it, and that just opened up a whole new can of worms for me because I was just thinking about it, 99 problems in our father. Wait a minute. Man, this is going a little deeper than I wanted it to go because I would have never seen it like, wow. And the Harriet Tubman thing, the voice between Harriet Tubman voices the young man thing, this was not just what they call it, I prepared for. This is something that just happened organically and inspirationally, just talking about it. And so the fact that our children, and guess what? We're born, let me be clear too, because I don't want you to think you're crazy when you're hearing voices. You're born to hear voices. Every human being that was ever born on this earth, be it deaf or a non-deaf, have heard a voice. We've all heard voices way before we admitted it. I remember the cartoons used to project that when they used to have the little devil on one end and on one shoulder, and the little angel on the other shoulder. I'm like, yeah, it was symbolic of the voices that we used to hear. That we used to hear, the voices that we still hear. But the fact if we don't throw our history up and really start to say, you know what, our history should be one of the major curriculums. We're talking about when we talk about they disregard, they taking away some this and that AP. What? I'm like, no, because if they take away something that's valuable or more than valuable, let them lose their children. You understand? But we're not gonna lose ours. So if you're taking away from them, doesn't mean you necessarily taking away from us because it's inherently in us to raise our children that way. But we got to make sure that we're empowered by it and not embarrassed by it. And that's what happened to me when I was thinking about that earlier scenario about being raised with 11, you understand? And then didn't know how I was able to raise 7 because I forgot how I was raised with 11 that gave me the power to raise the 7. I got embarrassed by it as opposed to empowered by it. But now I'm empowered by it in this conversation. And that's the validity of the Fatherhood Think Tank. So thank you guys for indulging me.
I can always depend on Lightborn. If we running shorter to take the topic and make sure the topic get its full just due. One thing we not short on here at Fatherhood Think Tank is the idea of being able to really intellectually look at topics, think about them, express them, and I think that's something that's very important that I feel sometimes is missing in our society for our men and for our fathers. sometimes what we will do is we will, as I like to call it, we will just keep it all inside. We won't, share what we really feel. We won't let our feelings be expressed because we've been told to bear and grind and take it and don't let these things be a factor to us. So I think that definitely is a great opportunity to this idea of 99 problems, but being a father is not one of them. And as we get ready to bring the train around to the station, um, I want to kind of talk about in an instance of fathers who are told that 99 problems are more what they got going on than being a father. But deep down, that's not for them. Being a father would not be any issue. It's just all the problems around them about how they can be a father and who dictates and maintains and establishes what kind of father, how they're going to be a father, what they're going to do as a father. Because sometimes they don't have the means and the ability or even the consent. I'm gonna use that word to be able to be the type of father that they would even want to be, because they don't have the consensual consent. If people understand what I mean, I'm talking about fathers that who weren't married, who don't have a legal, just have a biological father status. And I think that that's something we don't talk about a lot. Fathers who just have a biological father status. The system and the system, the courts, they don't recognize them as a father, so they can't at some point imprint their point on what they want to establish to be a father. So sometimes they leave all that dormant for the right time. And
Hmm.
only sad part about that is that when they get ready to present it, the child might have already got so much of teaching from stepfathers, other people, that they might not really be able to initially appreciate that that nature that's in them that they're getting from their biological father. So these things are something to think about. But there's a lot of problems that come around trying to be a father.
Yeah.
I know fathers who've been to jail because they wanted to be the father. Got tons of fines and just because they wanted to be the father, um, because they didn't have they didn't have the consent to be the father they needed and wanted to be able to be. I know this gonna sound harsh and maybe unheard of, but I think that just like every mother has mother skills in them, every father has father skills in them. The problem is sometimes we don't allow those fathers to activate those skills. We don't give them the opportunity to activate their father skills. We spend a lot of time focusing on the mother and the mother skills, and really the ones they kind of streamline the father skill to finance, and that sounds good, but it can be very dangerous because that means that you're saying that a father doesn't have to do anything but provide finance. But I've seen it many times that fathers who just only give finance, they're still up was saying the mother may feel that, hey, I don't get to listen. He doesn't spend any time with these kids. Yes, we got the money, we can do all these things, but the kid really needs to get that nature from that father. So that's something for us to really look at and think about.
Time.
But that's not accurate. I'm gonna tell you why. Because when we're talking about the equity of parenting, right? Let's go with not the equality, because you spoke about the equality, but the equity of parenting. I think it's a natural occurrence, right? Which is back to your point, Ron. Um, the equity of parenting says that we start to understand not only the value of money, but we start to understand the 3 T's of equity and parenting, right? Or parenting equity. The 3 T's are time, talents, and treasures, right? And so when you got the time, talent, oh, better yet, I'll give you 4 T's: time, talent, treasure, and guess what? Thoughts. Because you know how people say that it's the thought that count, and most people don't think like that. I'm like, no, it's very being thoughtful. You'll be surprised how priceless being thoughtful and how far being thoughtful can get you. And so when it comes to, I think we focus more on the treasure piece than we do on how valuable time is, how valuable talents is, because you can have the talent of being consistent, right? You can have the talent of being patient. You can have the talent of being forgiving. You can have the talent of being humble. And so with all these priceless talents that we deprive ourselves of because we put more value on treasures in our parenting relationships than we do on the time, the talent, and the thought piece, that we miss out on. And so technically what we're doing is we're fighting over 25% and guess what? Devaluing the other 75% that goes a long way. And so you may be getting 25%, but you technically cheat yourself, because when you factor in that the other 75% that the other parent brings to the table, it free you up to do so more things, right? And so more many things that can make you less miserable and less stressful. You understand? So with that, you have to understand the equity of parenting, or parenting equity. And you can only understand that when you start to see the empathy and have empathy towards each other as parents. And that's one thing that I had to learn, because again, I told you I got 4 children and they're not from the same mothers. And so I understood the value of equity and what's the word they call it? Collective bargaining. I always wanted to use that term, collective bargaining, real quick. But I understood it organically, and not that I only just that I understood it, right? But the best thing of the only thing greater than understanding something is appreciating it. Have to go, hey, take that, St. Paul. You know what he said? Above all things, get understanding. What I'm saying, the only thing that's above understanding is appreciation, or appreciating your understanding, and that's what I matriculated and attributed to just raising those 7 young children into 7 young adults right now. So I thank God for that, and that's pretty much my take on it.
Well, let me, as we're coming up at the end of this, and I know we didn't get our full time today, but we got to end early on the time, because at the time is scheduled. But we already have a good idea how this is going to operate for next week, 100 episode. Folks, like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get as many followers, and anybody out there, tell somebody that you know, like, share, and subscribe. We're really trying to get this message and be able to, for people to view this these episodes for education purposes, and that's what it really becomes. Not for entertainment, because we don't have any entertainment. We have education that we're trying to share, and through education and empowerment, we can start to see people, recognize and identify some of these same factors within themselves, and be willing to talk about it and begin to say, hey, I want to share with my family. I want to share with my child. I want to share with my child's mother. I want to be able to communicate these things and let them know how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and what's going on with me, because they were able to come and get on a platform and be able to listen to a platform of people who wasn't blaming them, who wasn't faulting them, but who was letting them know that we have a voice as men, as fathers, and that voice doesn't have to be domineering. It just has to be human. And that's a big part of what sometimes this idea becomes a thing of like, I need to exhort my manness. I need my maleness. No, we just need to exhort our humanness. The humanistic approach to things will always connect with anybody, any race, any gender, anybody, because we are all human, and all human will connect in that way. with that being said, Father, I want to thank everybody for liking, sharing, subscribing, joining us tonight for the 99th episode of the Fatherhood Think Tank. We'll be here next week for our 100th episode, and we will probably, have balloons and flyers, but we're really going to have a really interesting topic for next week to really get down, and we will have some real big surprises next week. You'll just get ready and sit back to get and see it. With that being said, let me just say to the Father, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Come on, fathers. I say that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship.
Championship Father. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, LJ. You wasn't here today.
Yeah.
We put our muscles up. We flex our muscles. We let people know that we are fathers. We are here, and we are holding our children on our arms and our families on our back, and that's what fathers should do. And we do it with the humanistic approach. With that being said, we'll see you all here next week with a 100th episode. Remember, share with somebody so they can come on and join us and like and listen, or even just share the video that you got in one of your pages or somewhere in the group. Share it with somebody because it might give them the inspiration to be able to become and manifest themselves to become a better father. I'll be the father that they really should be. I'll be the father they want to be. With that being said, thank you and good night.
Good night, all. God bless everyone.